Even though 10 years is a really long passage of time, that day, the 14th of September 2006, is still so very, very vivid and poignant in my own mind. It's the day for me that the spotlight was thrust onto my existence. And for years, the lymphoma and its treatment and complications governed my choices, my decisions, my life. And it has been 10 years in the making for me to grab control of that spotlight, turn it around and to try and move forward. The 14th of September 2006, I can tell you it was a really, really beautiful day, but I was really, really very unwell. The eldest of my 3 children, Eliza, was in grade 1 at school, and I had 2 boys who were under 4, who were busy, adventurous and boisterous. And so that, for me, easily explained away that gross and chronic fatigue that I'd developed, the recurrent respiratory illnesses that I just kept getting one after another, and the weight loss. Obviously, it was running around after my 3 children. But it was my inability to lie down flat at all or on my side. It was my constant shortness of breath, and it was that unremitting night pain that made me realise there was something more sinister going on here. And so for me, as I was waiting for the results from my CT scan, I instinctively knew, and from my, sorry, this is one of my side effects still, I instinctively knew, and from my physio training, that the results were going to be ominous. And the ENT specialist who persevered to find that diagnosis for me, he called with the news that it was cancer. That spotlight had hit me full frontal, and it stunned me. Sorry, and he explained to me that there was an oncologist waiting for me. I had to get in my car and literally drive straight to the hospital. There was someone waiting there for me who was going to take me under their wing and try and find out what that true diagnosis was. After 3 weeks of being an inpatient, continuous tests and being prodded and poked for all of that time, I was told that it was a mediastinal B-cell non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. So basically I had a small-sized football sitting in the middle of my chest. That spotlight hit me. It was bright, and I was absolutely blinded and stunned by it. My brain was unable to think through the next few hours, let alone getting through an entire day or the next few weeks, and years were definitely too big to contemplate as the fight for each day actually and literally took hold. Treatment began, and as we all know, my hair fell out. But by round 10, I was a walking, talking little clone of Bert Newton. I had a big moon face, no hair, and a massive abdo, and I'd gained about 20 kilos. That treatment for me was really, really intense, and it was quite soul-destroying. I became really fearful of every germ or bug that my children brought home, and so I did mask up to try and improve my chances of making this entire ordeal more worthwhile. My chemotherapy was followed by stem cell harvest and then radiotherapy. And to this day, my best investment in life is that money that I paid to the stem cell bank to keep housing my stem cells. They're my little ticket in my back pocket waiting to pull out if ever my lymphoma comes out of remission. But after that whole year of treatment and as I finished my final dose of radiation, I was actually a mess. My confidence and physical condition had been so crushed. The worst part was my hair was returning. No one tells you that that's really bad because people start to think you're better and start to treat you like you're better. Everyone was really so happy for me and waiting for me to move forward. Everyone else was willing to take that spotlight off me, but I felt really crushed, vulnerable, raw and scared. I'd lost confidence in myself, in my abilities and in what my body could do. I was holding really tight onto that spotlight because I was fearful of every single ache, every single rash, every single pain or cough that I had, because I was certain that that lymphoma was just awaiting underneath the surface, bubbling and ready to reappear. I would never have thought that after all of that treatment I was going to be afraid to start living again. I would be afraid to turn the spotlight around, embrace life and move forward. I would never have guessed that the 2 years following my treatment were going to be the hardest of my entire life. that during this time in fighting the side effects and the complications of my treatment, that I felt that my body was still failing dismally and it was really struggling to try and right itself again. Seemingly simple and easy tasks, just like cooking a meal or driving around and sorting the kids, cooking, or the most challenging, which was staying in good spirits and awake for an entire day, were just all a little bit too hard. My moods were erratic and inconsistent, and each day was not just a challenge for me, but it was also a challenge for my family. For my friends, I hid my struggles. I didn't want to talk about them because it would make me feel as though I wasn't coping with life or coping in general very well. Each of those years, and for another one further, I ended up back in hospital again fighting influenza, and for me that was just a reminder that my body was still so frail. Through all of this, I can't deny that my husband was my rock and he supported me unwaveringly. My children, despite my ogre-like appearance and manner, still loved me, which was amazing, and kept showing me the world through their eyes. And my family and friends kept trying to invite me out to their social events or just to get out and about and be with them, even though at the time this was just even too much to contemplate. A pivotal turning point came for me though when a colleague of my husband's called me up. He'd had lymphoma himself 10 years earlier, and he knew me and he knew about my involvement in a sporting background, and he presented me with the perfect analogy for me. And he went, "Julie, you know, life is actually just like a league of games, whether it be hockey or football or soccer or rugby league or netball." He said, "Look, you've won this game, but you don't know what's around the corner. Okay, it can be anything. It can be that the lymphoma comes back, but it can be anything that that you will have to face, and you'll have to get yourself as match fit as possible for that next game, whatever that may be." And when I thought about this, made such perfect sense. It was sort of like a light bulb moment for me. I'd been so busy pointing the spotlight on me, trying to find where the problems were, that I forgot to then get ready to face them and prepare myself for whatever they may be. This concept also took me back to the days of working with the Hockeyroos, and really in this moment we're no different to an injured athlete. We're carrying an injury, it's just our injuries are in our cells and in our blood. So I turned the spotlight now to my fitness and began the slow process of regaining my strength and my endurance. The best decision though that I made during this entire time in doing that was to actually focus on the things I loved and I had loved in my life. Things that I'd been passionate about. At this particular moment, it was my children that I was passionate about. We got a dog because that's something that they were really desperate to do. And so we would take the dog for a walk. We'd go to the park. I'd get involved in their after-school activities. Just small little things, but just starting to be a little bit more active again. And as I grew physically stronger, I noticed that even the fog that had seemed to envelope me, that was there every morning when I woke up, seemed to lift. I had a little bit more energy gradually, and catching up with friends was definitely easier. Eventually, I talked my friends into joining me into a beginner's dance class. Dancing had been something that I loved, and I loved music. And to this day, I still do that every week because it's that thing that keeps me moving forward and keeps reminding me of how far I've come. My dancing's no better, but I still love it, and that's what's important. Incrementally and gradually, I was able to do more, both physically and mentally. But the key, I think, was just having very small achievable goals and facing each one realistically and slowly, and focusing so much on my expectations of what I should be able to do and focusing and appreciating on what I could do. And after a while, I did eventually feel strong enough to return to work, and this was both exciting and terrifying, as I knew that not only would I have to manage that transition very carefully, but also that energy reserve, which is less when you've come through a treatment. I knew I had to try and manage that energy a little bit better as well, so that I'd still have time for the kids at the end of the day. It was also around that time that I don't think it was Nicole, I think it was maybe Catherine, asked me to speak about my early lymphoma experiences. And I think it was at a World Lymphoma Day, maybe back 6 years ago. And that for me was a turning point, because I gained the confidence during that to talk about my own personal experiences. And I realised that my experiences were not just unique to me, but it was a common thread through most people that I spoke to, and that my struggles were the same as those of many others. And I think that speaking about our lives, not only do we personally benefit, but we create support for each other, and we can help to educate our families and friends and in general the community. We're raising awareness of both the disease, its complications and treatments, and what life is like beyond that. By each of us talking, we're taking the spotlight in our hands still, but we're turning it back onto the disease itself and to the many other thousands that are affected every day by this same disease. Each year beyond my diagnosis has been filled with love and laughter and work and now travel. And each year that spotlight, even though it gets stronger in my grasp, I'm focusing it further away from me. And I'm now trying to focus it onto the others that are either living with this disease or others that are in circumstances that aren't quite as good as ours. The highlight for me in this whole journey has, and not just this year, but in my life, came earlier in March when my husband and I were asked to participate in a leadership immersion program through the Edmund Rice Foundation into the slums of Nairobi, Kenya. So for 2 weeks we visited and met with people living in the Kibera, Mukuru and Mbulbul slums. People who do not have access to water, to electricity, to sanitation, let alone the most basic even of medical care. And here each person and child waits every single day trying to fight for survival, whether they are with disease or not. Those with lymphoma are guaranteed to head to their graves early because they'll go oblivious that they even have the disease coursing through their blood. So let us remember on this day and give heaps of thanks that we're here with access to such wonderful doctors. Jason's a shiningly brilliant example of that. And to the technology that we can access here in our medical model. So hopefully we can help to raise awareness by talking about our stories, educating as many people as possible about what it's like to live with lymphoma, and by raising the awareness and the plights of others, either with the disease or without, throughout the world. This is our lifetime, and these are the challenges that we are facing and that others around us are facing. These stories are happening in our backyards, and it's time that we spoke up about them. As a little bit of a reflective tool for me earlier this year, I did, and knowing that my 10 years was coming up, that was part of it, was the course for me to head over to Nairobi. I just wanted to feel like I had to do something more than about myself. But I also thought I'd sit and write a reflective letter to myself about the last 10 years. And it is very personal, but I thought that I would share that with you today because it might be a tool that you find useful in your own lives. And it might be an exercise that's helpful to you. So, hey Julie, that's my start to myself. Your life, so this is written to me now when I'm 35. Your life is seemingly perfect at 35 years. You've a wonderful husband, 3 beautiful children, and already through your work you've travelled and met the most amazing and inspiring and wonderful people. But believe me, the best is yet to come. But it's just not how you expect it. You've been feeling really, really unwell, washed out, tired, and beyond like anything you've ever experienced before. But believe me, there is a reason. You've developed a large football-sized mass in your chest. It's non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, but it's okay. You will be presented with a plan for some treatment. Trust the doctors and the health professionals and the support staff that enter into your life. They are at the top of their game and they've got you covered. But don't be complacent. Be an active participant in the process and be honest with yourself and the doctors about your body and your responses to that treatment and how you're feeling. Your faith, your family and your friends and even complete strangers will support you and help you navigate through this time. You will be amazed at that strength of human kindness. They will pick you up when you fall and help you to take that next step. Don't worry about the children so much. Your love and their resilience will help make this a poignant and extremely formative moment in their character development. They will be the best medicine that you could possibly ask for, and they will keep you moving when you want to curl up in a ball and hide away. They and you will emerge strong and more determined by this whole process. Your husband will somehow keep everything together while you step aside and out of life for a while. This moment will strengthen your relationship with him and also his with the kids. Trust him, lean on him. He is ready for this. Although you will be plagued with complications, it's the transition back into your life that sees you struggle the most. Your own expectations about this time and your own capabilities will see you feeling lost and so very, very disappointed. But rather than focusing on the expectations, spend more time appreciating the small things. You are still here, and you are still here for a while. And you are surrounded and supported by friends and family and support staff. And even though you cannot do all of the things that you used to or that you want to, you have more than enough support, you have access to more than enough people, and you have enough knowledge to turn this around. Bring back into your life all of the things that you love, slowly and incrementally. Cooking, walking, going to the beach, swimming, dancing, and travelling. There is no rush. Breathe, convalesce, be kind to yourself, and take your time. All of the treatment will be worth it, and more than anything else, there will be time. Don't be in such a rush to move forward that you forget to stop and appreciate all aspects of your life. Stop and smell the roses. And just as you're getting yourself back on track, your dad will become unwell. All the while that you were sick, he was praying, wishing and bargaining to let it be him and not you. To your absolute distress and horror, his wish is granted, and despite the best of treatments, this was what he wanted. He was ready to go. In his eyes, he took your place, and this display of love will remain with you every day. He didn't wish for this, for you to spend your day racked with guilt and sadness. So stay strong, live your life to the full every day, and travel and see the places that he wished to go. At the start of this, I promised you that the best was yet to come. And it is. As your body grows in strength, so does your clarity and confidence. You'll go back to work and start a new business. You'll travel with your family and have days of happiness that you didn't think would be possible again. In 10 years' time, your focus will still be on your family, but also on your new friends in Africa. And you ultimately challenge yourself and your body to endure the conditions of the slums in Nairobi. And as a result of you immersing yourself in their day-to-day life, you emerge unscathed, uplifted, and feeling more alive than ever you have before. And when you're asked to share this story, be truthful and be honest. Your story is no more remarkable than anybody else's, but speaking about it may help others to focus on their own lives and talk about their experiences. And together with the support of all of the people that you've now met along the way and the Leukemia Foundation and the people here today, you all could make a moment and help change the world and raise awareness of lymphoma. So thank you.